Welcome. Today, we're not just talking about burnout, we're talking about something even deeper. We're talking about something that most of us miss in the world that never stops. Many of us, many of us have forgotten, sorry, I'm getting tongue tied here, how to rest. We push through believing that more is always better. And what if the key to sustainable creativity isn't doing more, but knowing when you've done enough? On today's show, we'll look at how to recognize when you're operating from an outdated paradigm of productivity, because it's so essential to your well-being to notice when you've done enough. Not because you failed, not because you're broken, but because you've actually completed something. In a culture that glorifies endless doing, we've forgotten how to rest, not from exhaustion, but from fulfillment. Today, I'll show you how to tell the difference. Welcome to Chakra Care for the Creative Soul, where we transform challenges into sacred soul gifts. I'm your host, Pollyanna Blanco, the healer's healer, and I guide visionary women to move from exhausted to epic, transforming challenges into sacred soul gifts, radiant resilience, creative courage, and divine wealth. My clients learn to care for themselves as much as they care for the world. Are you ready to feel soul nourished and flourish? This is not just a show, it's a resonance journey. Through coherence care, we align breath, intention, and creativity. This isn't therapy, this is resonance. Together, we'll explore the next frontier of consciousness, where your breath, heart, and creative impulse align. Join me as we turn your challenges into sacred soul gifts and step into the art of coherence together. Thank you so much for being here. Hand on heart. This is why I do what I do, because everything I've been learning along my journey is something that I feel guided to share with those I can help and support, and just be that mirror, because so many others have been mirrors for me. And I deeply, deeply appreciate your presence here, whether you're watching live or on the replay. You know, when we focus on the same things together, this is how we really make a huge difference in the world with our presence. And right now, in this fast-paced world that we're all living in, it is so key, where we put our attention, what we focus on. There are so many distractions out there. You already know this. And oftentimes when we are feeling tired, or just like, we use this term burnout a lot these days. And I've been doing some deep diving on this whole topic. And that's what inspired me to do today's show. And in a moment, I'm going to help you to recognize the paradigm shift that might be happening for you too right now, and look at 3 ways to notice the shift. Because along my own journey, what I noticed, because we can be so influenced, at least I know I was, I'll take responsibility for that, with all the wonderful advice that's out there on YouTube. And sometimes we blur lines. And I came to recognize that I had blurred a line inside of myself between burnout and something else. And that something else is what I'm going to be unpacking with you on today's show and upcoming shows. Because there's a danger in blanketing everything as burnout. And when we do that, oftentimes, especially as women, we have a way of weaponizing that against ourselves. It can become another thing that we look at that we're not doing well. And I really don't want that for you. I really want you, sincerely, hand on heart, deep breath in and out, to really, really recognize this discernment between what so many are talking about with burnout. And today's show is not about recovering from burnout. It's recognizing that you're not burnt out, maybe the operative word is yet. And by recognizing some of these shifts that are happening in you, you don't have to wait until you're burnt out. There's a danger in what we say to ourselves. If I start saying to myself, I'm burnt out, and I blanket what I'm experiencing with that to try to name it, to understand it, and it's more nuanced than that, then that can send me on a downward negative spiral, right? And it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy because our words are wands, right? They cast spells. That's why it's called spelling, right? So how we speak to ourselves, and this discernment even just recently helped me enormously. So this is why I'm so excited to share it with you. So I'm going to start to unpack this, because in a nutshell, there's a difference between burnout and creative exhaustion. And that's what I feel really compelled to share, not only on this show, but upcoming shows, because I think we're blanketing it far too much. Okay, so the 3 shifts and how to notice them. Okay, as a lot of you know, or you wouldn't be watching this show, we're moving forward at rapidly increasing rates, it feels like, of expansion and personal evolution and emergence. And so I'm going to present this in terms of an old paradigm and then what's emerging, a new paradigm. And a paradigm is both, can be on the personal level as well as the societal level, collective level. So all of this is very nuanced. In a clunky kind of way, I'm just going to say old paradigm and new paradigm, because it has to do with the beliefs that we just to sort of absorb, and it becomes the filter that we see the world through. And I like to call it our fishbowl, to be honest, because it's our fishbowl that we can't even see that the glass is there anymore. We just keep swimming around in circles in this limited space, and we think that this is the extent of our world. Okay, so the very first old paradigm shift is that leads to this awareness of going beyond just blanketing everything as being burnout, is that rest is earned. It's the belief that I can rest when everything is done. And the symptom of this belief system, this paradigm, is you end up delaying rest until burnout forces it, until you get sick, until you just can't get out of bed, until you're depressed, until you just can't keep all the balls in the air and they all come crashing down and it's a hot mess. And, I've been in teaching for over 29 years and counting now. And I've learned through the School of Hard Knocks in that career, which especially since the pandemic has become increasingly demanding. And I see it in my colleagues as well, too, because we're really devoted and dedicated to our work. And there's so many socio-emotional needs that we're considering beyond just the lesson we're teaching. And that is, it can be like, I don't have time to rest. And this is where, in my own journey, I've noticed that it was so easy to just, keep going and going and going and going and going until I just couldn't do anything at all anymore. And I see this in my colleagues as well, too. It's like sickness is permission, like an illness, a cold, a flu is permission to rest. And that's not sustainable. It takes too much of a toll on us. So, in contrast, the new paradigm is rest is part of the process. The sign that you're moving into the new paradigm is you literally schedule rest as intentionally as you schedule work. Like for me, that was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? And yet it's become such an essential practice. And I continually remind myself of it because I'm able to notice the symptoms. And one of the signs is my mind, my beautiful mind. We all have a beautiful mind. It likes to run the show, right? Telling me I have to keep going, that there's no time to rest. That for me is a huge red flag to double check how I'm planning out my days. And there are heightened times where, things are due, you know, and in your own life, you might have work deadlines, all kinds of, you know, timelines that you need to honor for all kinds of reasons. And yet you also notice you are in a different space and place within yourself around all of this when you take your rest time that you schedule in as seriously and intentionally as the work that you need to do. So I'm going to offer you a little breath pause here to breathe that in, along with a mantra to anchor it. So I invite you to breathe in for a count of 4, pause for a count of 4, and then exhale for a count of 6. And we're going to breathe in together now. And continuing that practice for another 2 breaths, the mantra is, rest is not a reward. It is my rhythm. And with the 3rd breath in, I'm going to repeat on our behalf, rest is not a reward. It is my rhythm. Okay, on to point number 2, shift number 2. You're living in the old paradigm still. Boy, I'm getting tongue-tied today. Sometimes the words come out faster. It's the energy flowing through me. Point number 2, the old paradigm, you'll notice you're in it when you still have this connection between your productivity equaling your worth. It's tied to the belief, if I'm not producing, I'm not valuable. And the symptom you'll notice most loudly, and I noticed this in my own journey, is guilt when you're resting. You feel squirrely, you can't sit still, your mind sort of scans the environment around you and pulls up things you could do. Maybe it's laundry, maybe it's a grocery list, maybe it's that friend you meant to check in on and forgot to. And it just won't let you sit still. It's the monkey mind, right? The new paradigm is your presence equals your worth. That's a real flip from your productivity to your presence equals your worth. And the sign is you feel valuable even when you're still. Like even when you're doing nothing, you have this deep connection to the value of your stillness. So let's breathe that one in. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths in and out, breathing in for 4, pausing for 4, and then exhaling for 6. And I'm going to repeat the mantra 3 times as you do that. I am worthy in stillness. I am worthy in stillness. And one last time, I am worthy in stillness. That's a powerful moment you just given yourself, allowing yourself to be still, allowing yourself to be present. I hope you can feel that right now. I know I do. And the 3rd paradigm shift to recognize is you're still in that old paradigm when you get caught up in that endless to-do loop, that never-ending to-do list, that mind that, and this is a surefire sign for myself too, where I have this momentum that builds in my day-to-day life with work, and I just can't seem to shut it off. And that perception that I can't just seem to shut it off is the mind telling me that. It's not the truth. And yet I hear that going on in here in the peanut gallery. And that's when I get curious and I say, wait a second, what's going on here? And it's always tied to a belief that there's more to do. This started way back when I was in university. I remember I didn't party hardy like a lot of people did because I kept thinking I was waiting until all my work was done to go out and have fun, especially in first year. I was just nose to the grindstone. And I mean, yes, it's great to have a good work ethic. And yes, I mean, we get out of things what we put into them. However, the slippery slope with this one is that the symptom can become anxiety when you're not busy. So if you've noticed, there are times where you're literally worried about um, what's going to happen next, uh, especially if you're not doing anything. Like if I don't kind of go over here and help someone with this, or if I don't organize this, or if I don't use my time even well to relax, that's a really tricky one. Then, X, Y, and Z might happen. Like I might miss this time. A lot of this is mastering the mind, and you can't argue with these thoughts. I've learned that in my own journey too. Instead, it's more about breathing with them, listening to them, and being present to them, and knowing that they're just trying to help you out, right? They're just trying to protect you, keep you safe, and breathing in and affirming things that, like, I am safe, I am well, um, all is well in my world and in my life can really help, because in the new paradigm, completion is progress. And the sign is you can pause without panic. Taking that sacred pause, that moment to breathe in and literally bring all of your senses into the present moment, not because you're on a meditation retreat, not because you're meditating for an hour on your cushion, just because you noticed the thought that there's more to do, or that I don't have time to rest, or that there's not enough time, and that you can stop and pause and look at all the things that you have done. And I want to also add onto this that if you're a healer or any kind of light worker, which you probably are, you wouldn't be drawn to this show at all, is that the stuff you've quote unquote done may not be so 3D concrete. A lot of the stuff that we are doing is we are healing emotional, mental, spiritual aspects of our experiences. So we're going through many kinds of internal shifts. We're releasing, we might be physically tired from releasing an old belief system, or integrating new awarenesses into our life and into how we see things and operate. And so when all of that's happening, it can be even easier for the mind to form to skip past these things as things that you've quote unquote done, because they seem a little more ephemeral is what I want to say, and yet they're so profound, and they merit the rest. They merit the rest for the time to integrate. And so this is so important to understand that all the things on the to-do list that you can write down, we don't often put down: shift this limiting belief, heal that old childhood wound. And when we pause, we can celebrate, and we can connect with where we're really at, with from a sense of gratitude and appreciation, as opposed to scarcity and lack, that it's still not enough. And even finer than that is a distinction and a discernment that we validate all the good work we're doing as light workers, as visionaries, because whatever we clear for ourselves, we're also clearing for the collective. That's deep, soulful work, and it deserves our respect and our honoring. And when we pause, we acknowledge it within ourselves, we celebrate it. And this also celebrates it for everyone in the world. So often we talk about, we're healing this, and it also heals for the world. And that's so beautiful. We also forget too that because we live in this quantum universe where, there's non-locality and all kinds of juicy good things going on. When you're also celebrating all the shifts that you've made inside of yourself, you're not just celebrating them for yourself. Hand on heart, breathe that one in. You're celebrating them for the collective as well too. And what a beautiful ripple effect to send out into the world. So on that note, let's hold 3 more breaths together. Not hold, but share 3 more breaths together. I want us to hold our breath. But I'm going to invite you to take 3 more deep breaths. And I'm going to invite you to breathe in this mantra. I let what I've done catch up to me. I let what I've done catch up to me. I let what I've done catch up to me. It's so important to catch those wonderful wins, those amazing shifts, those incredible insights when we're moving quickly, because they don't seem as concrete at first, although they become the concrete in time because they become how we navigate our journey and the choices we make and the things we co-create and focus on. Initially, though, there's shifts and they seem more ephemeral. Giving yourself time to really embrace those and cherish those and appreciate yourself and recognize in yourself. This is not about recovery. This is about recognition. The more we recognize what we've accomplished, when you recognize all that you've accomplished, not just material, also emotional, mental, spiritual, that's when you don't need recovery in the same way anymore. You have recognition in its place. And this is at the heart of your divine creative wealth. When you're connected to that place within you of abundance, true soulful abundance of all that you have been co-creating, all that you have been calling forward, this lays a very stable, coherent foundation upon which to keep moving forward. And I'm going to add one more interesting piece into the mix too. There is this really fascinating thing. I just discovered it not too long ago, and I'll be talking about it more on upcoming shows, but I've been playing with it in my own life, and that's the science of working in 90-minute cycles, because our brains operate on what scientists call the ultradian rhythm. I've heard about circadian rhythms, but this was newer for me. An ultradian rhythm is a natural cycle that repeats roughly every 90 minutes. And research shows that aligning your work and rest with these cycles can boost productivity by up to 40%. Because during each cycle, your brain moves through phases of high focus and low energy. Ignoring these rhythms actually leads to fatigue, burnout, and decreased creativity. By working with your brain's natural rhythm, you enhance both output and well-being. So it's not just about giving and pouring out without also replenishing your reserves, right? And we have unlimited support from Source, Creative Source itself. And Creative Source, you might call it by a different name, Spirit, Universe, God, Gaia, something else. At the end of the day, without the pause and the receptivity, which is very sacred feminine frequency, there is no replenishment. There is only depletion, right? So I'm going to share with you in a moment just something I was incredibly inspired to create that's available to you below in the show notes. I'm just going to give it a little plug here for a moment. It's a 90-minute coherence reset. So I'm going to share that with you right now. And then I'll come back to you before we come to a conclusion of our show for today. In a fast paced world, the most radical act is not to do more, but to allow transition time. Most people skip this, and that's what trips them up. Not the work, not the rest, but the space in between. Today, I invite you to reclaim that space because it's not just where you pause, it's where you integrate, and it's where you remember who you truly are. Be well, beautiful, creative soul. Until we reconnect again here, wishing you a wonderful week. Lots of love and light. Be well. And I'm going to, okay, there we go.